What's going on, cactus friends? Living in a zone where cacti don't typically thrive means there aren't many cactus-related events to take part in. So when I saw Rocky Mountain Fresh was hosting a cactus seed grow-off open to anyone in the world, I knew I had to participate. The competition is simple. Each contestant receives a pack of approximately 25 seeds and is expected to sow them between November 24th and December 1st, 2023. After a year, on December 1st, 2024, contestants will choose their fattest seedling, measure its volume by displacement, and a winner will be chosen. The contest organizer, Jeremy, said he sent out close to 200 packs of seeds, so it's going to be super cool to see how everyone's different growing techniques will impact the seed's growth and development. Speaking of which, the genetics everyone will be growing come from the renowned plant breeder known as Pedro and are a cross between Lima Flower Market and Ribshifter. Lima Flower Market is a landrace pachinoi originally discovered and purchased from a flower market in Lima, Peru, and Ribshifter is a unique Bruggesii that exhibits some really wild ribshifty goodness. Every participant will post updates on the first of every month, so it'll be fun to see the different phenotypes everyone germinates. I like to think of each seed as a crank of the old genetic lottery. Who knows what we're going to get? To get started with my grow, I'll be keeping things pretty simple. The medium I'm using for the first part of the grow is a 50-50 mix of perlite and sphagnum peat moss. I also toss in 2 scoops of mycorrhizae for good measure. In more mature plants, mycorrhizae can be very beneficial as it symbiotically breaks down nutrients in the soil to make them more available for your plant to uptake. In starting cactus seeds, the idea is that mycorrhizal fungus forms a sort of living soil that should hopefully outcompete any harmful fungus or bacteria that may try to grow and do harm to our seedlings. It's a bit like a fight fire with fire type deal. Since I won't be sterilizing my soil, this should help keep the bad stuff at bay. I like to mix my medium in a resealable bag since I won't be needing a whole lot for my relatively small container. The container I'm using is just a 6x6x4 Tupperware container. And to prevent water from pooling up at the bottom, I add an assortment of drain holes with a soldering iron. To prevent soil from coming out the bottom, I cut a piece of paper towel to fit the bottom of the container. This isn't necessary, but I do this with all my potted plants and seedling containers, and it's never seemed to cause any issues. I'm also going to cut a small notch into the container, just so I don't somehow mix this container up with one of my others. With our container ready now, and it being dangerously close to midnight, I'm going to add distilled water that's been pH down to 5.8 into the soil bag, and mix it in until it's an even consistency. I wet the medium until it's at field capacity where only a little water comes out when you squeeze it. And next, I'll thoroughly wipe down our container with isopropyl alcohol to disinfect it, and the wetted medium can be added right into the container. I like to put in only a little bit at a time and pack it down as I go. You don't want to compress it too much, just enough to make sure there are no voids and that everything's going to stay where it is. I only fill up the container about halfway, as we want to use the walls of the container to give the seedlings some headroom to breathe when we get everything sealed up. So we got our seeds and container already. All that's left to do is to actually plant them. As you can see, it's 12:10 a.m. on the 24th, and I'm 10 minutes late to planting. With my hands washed and disinfected, I'll dump some of the seeds into the palm of my hand and sprinkle them on top of the soil. My method for even seed distribution definitely needs work, but these guys won't be spending their whole lives in this container, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Contestants were told we could plant all of the seeds we received for the grow-off, so even though it says quantity 25, my pack contained 31, and I sowed all of them. Cactus seeds need light and humidity to germinate, so we're not actually going to bury them under the surface of the soil. They're fine just sitting on top as long as they aren't sticking to like a big piece of perlite or something. With all of the seeds sowed into our container, I'm going to load the whole thing into a gallon-sized resealable plastic bag and give everything inside a good wetting down with pH-corrected distilled water. I like to spray even the sides of the bag and container since we're going to be trying to create a very humid environment inside the bag. Spraying on top of the soil too can help get the seeds situated in their new home. With everything sprayed down, I'm going to seal the bag up, and it's always good practice to label everything just so there's no mix-ups. During germination, this container is going to be sitting on a VivoSun heat mat set to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and both the heat mat and light will be on a 16/8 cycle. My light of choice for this tent is a Mars Hydro SP3000, and I'm using these super high-tech paper diffusers, and everything is situated so that my container is receiving about 95 ppfd, which should be about perfect for what these seeds want. At this point, we just set it and forget it. For about a day or so anyway. For at least the first few weeks, I'll do daily checks with a bright flashlight through the bag to ensure everything's going well and no harmful microbes are growing. During the initial stages of the grow, when the seedlings are still sensitive, I'm going to minimize opening the bag to reduce the risk of introducing any contamination. Fast forward 5 days, it is now November 29th, and the first seeds have started germinating. So far, I'm only counting 8 out of the 31 seeds sprouting, but it's still very early to even be thinking about germination rates at this point. This is exciting because I'll have some sprouts to post for the update coming on December 1st. It's already been fascinating to see all the different approaches everyone is taking, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all the cacti that come out of this. The only thing is, this is probably going to saturate the market for this cross in a year or so when this is all over and everyone starts selling their seedlings. But hey, too many cacti is never a bad thing. I'm planning on posting regular updates in the coming weeks and months for these seeds as they continue to grow, so be sure to subscribe for updates and more cactus content. If you're interested in the grow-off, check out the subreddit and Facebook group, which I'll link in the description. Many thanks again to Jeremy with Rocky Mountain Fresh and Andreas from Pedro Park for making this all possible. If you'd like to read more about cultivars like Lima Flower Market, check out trichocereuswiki.org for all your Trichocereus information needs.